Today at Solis Partners, we are excited to have Seb from Tangible on. Seb, could you tell us a little bit more about how you got the idea of Tangible and how that's grown over time?
I've spent like most of my career just building software companies in general, both for big fintechs, but also on the startup side and on the venture side. And it was at a place called Founders Factory, which is a venture studio and accelerator here in London, that I met my co-founder William, and we were working together on multiple angles, but we also talked a lot about the extent that the hardware component in terms of conversations from both like venture capital, but also on the larger sort of like investment spectrum were not talked about a lot. And we both have a hardware background. So we discussed this a lot back then, and we really felt like there was problems to solve for hardware and hard tech builders, especially in the sort of, let's call it novel assets or climate hardware space. And we wanted to we felt like we really did want to solve problems for these companies had a different initial thesis, which was a pure sort of like data play, which where we had like one of our post-its early on was the idea of financing that these new assets and these new like business models would need some form of financing. Since neither me or Will come from that background, it was not something that we explored initially. But as we were building the company, it turned out to be a bigger problem for our customers. So we decided to essentially pivot the company to fully helping hard tech companies interface with the capital markets using technology. And as part of that, we also onboarded our third co-founder, Aishwarya, and she has spent basically her career doing this type of financing. Was at that point that we met her, she was also exploring her own, let's say, founder journey after spent so much time in sort of like in this type of financing or in capital markets. She knows how rigid and how little technology plays in decision making on those parts. So she was also looking for, let's say, like ways of disrupting her own industry. And when we met, it was a clear match. So we brought her on board, and I've been running in the form of Tangible now for the last like year, maybe year and a half. And where we're at now is the focus on hard tech to prepare them for interfacing with capital markets. So we bring on board their initial information and initial data, and we use our technology to basically put a credit lens on top of that data and help them in that preparation journey. And then post that, helping them raise and eventually also report on these facilities. But yes, to your initial question, that the idea for Tangible has basically been a bit of a journey, but that started out with like, these are the type of companies that we think these are the type of companies that are solving these type of problems that we wanna help. Ultimately, the main mission that we are looking to solve is just, we believe that these technologies and these hard tech companies need to exist and need to scale for the future. We just want to make that future happen sooner.
Fascinating in terms of just the dynamic reporting capabilities that you kind of just outlined there. I would imagine with better data and that industry knowledge, you can tell better stories. How has that evolved with clients, like from kind of day one on the platform to maybe 30, 60, 90 days out? What does that typically look like?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of companies that come to a platform they come on different scales of like their own knowledge of debt financing, as you can imagine. So I think that it's very different compared, like if you ask certain founders, like some people come with a lot of knowledge pre-hand and want to use our platform to speed up the process. And that's how we're helping them. Other customers come to us with no pre-existing knowledge, and we take them on a bit more of like an education journey through the platform as well, and where they learn what this type of financing means for them, what even is debt capital, how does it work, I think that the main difference is just re-educating people how different it is from raising venture capital. It's almost the complete opposite on
Sure.
certain things. And that I think is one of I guess one of the bigger barriers of knowledge that we try to break through using the platform.
What I would imagine you guys are seeing an influx of people into the platform for a variety of reasons, but I guess what is the typical challenge that most people come to you guys with?
I think that the typical challenge is that how do we even what even is that capital? Is honestly
Oh,
like
gosh,
one
it's,
of the things.
it's
Like
not
what
even. Yeah.
even is AB, like what even is asset-backed financing? How can it work for me? There is a lot of sort of like what I think there's also quite a common path where people have tried and failed, and they want to understand why. And I think there's a big language barrier, right? There is a big sort of like you as a hard tech founder, you believe that you're presenting your business in the light, the vision that you want it to be perceived, and then you're getting like very specific questions from the lender that you might not think is relevant, or that maybe you don't fully understand, and then therefore you're taking that as like you're taking that as a negative, or you don't have the knowledge to respond to it. And that's also where the platform comes in. And it's like we can be that translation layer in between.
Well, I mean, sounds like tremendous value relative to the traditional lawyer and legal educational path that some could take, especially when it comes to debt financing. So it's cool that you guys are kind of the one-stop shop, and then it's not even just the what and the how, but it's really the insight coupled with that, which I think is really cool about the platform. But I saw on Tangible site you guys have a little bit
Mm,
some reporting capabilities when it comes to just the
mm.
assets on the balance sheet. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. So as if people are aware of getting like not many people are aware of this, but like as part of after going through a rigorous process of raising that capital, especially if it's some sort of asset-backed capital, there will be a requirement for you as a company to report on that facility, as it's called, or on the warehouse. And what we have essentially built is like an automated version of that report. So which is also like specifically target for the type of asset classes that we work with, i.e. like hard tech companies and their business models. And those reporting requirements can be very nuanced. And what we do is essentially we have a document reader, so that all you need to do is like upload your credit agreement, and we basically turn that into your reporting requirements. So then you just need to plug in your data or your asset tape on the cadences that you have said that you're going to report on, so like monthly or weekly or whatever it could be. And we make sure that you adhere to the reporting requirements you do in a very much automated way, so that all you need to do is just check that the report is correct, double check the numbers, send it to your lender. If you've gone through the whole journey with us, all the way from prepare and raise and then into report, it's all also like connected together.
Time savings on that's fantastic. So that's incredible. Then I guess what has been your reaction over or your view of the capital markets over the last 12 months?
I mean, it's a huge upswing, right? Like it's a lot of. I think there is two things happening, right? I think that there is movement. Let's call it like the movement of the sort of like reindustrialization that's happening both in like I think specifically in the US, but also around in Europe. And I think that at the same time as the realization that venture capital isn't the only or even like a good fit for like a lot of these
Sure.
companies to scale, has created like quite a big upswing in like people looking at alternative options for their financing stack.
Makes a ton of sense. I guess also, kind of getting back a little bit to the origin story, but how did you guys find this qualified base of lenders that had just comfortability with this kind of industry?
So it's all through Ashwarya's network, to be completely honest with you. Like it's people that she has been working with in the past, and we're actually seeing more and more, let's call it like smaller specialized funds popping up here and there, who are like maybe looking at one specific asset class, or want to do something different, and it ranges in ticket sizes as well. But yeah, no, I think that the crux of your question is actually that where suddenly this private capital markets is just everywhere. I mean, at least in my bubble, whereas like before, I don't think that people had like, I don't think people had like a full understanding of like who they were or like how to find them or what did they do. I think that's also part of like the uncovering that we are like hoping to help. This is not just like this nebulous, unknown term out there. It's just people who also want to, like, I guess, in one sense, help out and make money on the way.
Certainly will, and I think it only benefits the specific, like, asset-heavy lending space when the broader private credit market is blooming, which has been
Yeah,
pretty evident over the last 2 to
correct.
3 years. So,
Mm.
and it doesn't hurt that there's the prospect of rate cuts driving some refinancing for you guys. So, do you guys see
Yeah.
that often? Like, will companies then just do their refinancing through the same platform?
To be completely honest with you, we have a few conversations right now that are in talks, but most of our customers right now are just in their first facility or
Sure.
going through the prepare phase. But the idea is that that will be like, because the same, the overall thesis is obviously also that we are like we're the home for where all of this happens. And most of our current customers in Prepare are looking for their first facility. If you have all of the data and everything connected, when it comes to your second and third, which will be probably like 10 times bigger than your first one, then you already have proof points, you already have the data connected. We already have the network for like who should be that step up. So making that journey also easier is definitely part of the journey we want to take our customers through.
Sure. Well, and it's
Mm.
nice in the fact that you guys are obviously a long-term option for anyone that jumps onto the platform. So, I mean, you're the
Yeah,
CFO's best friend in a lot of ways.
hopefully, yeah.
What, of early users, what's been the feedback so far?
So I think that the main feedback that we're getting is just like how I think a lot of people, a lot of customers, to be completely honest with you, are coming into this potentially a lot. I think people are not really don't are not fully understanding like what it takes to raise this type of capital. And I think the main feedback we are getting is sometimes that it can be a little bit overwhelming. That it's sort of like
Sure.
I did like the main sort of with me like, oh, I didn't realize I needed all of these things in order to do this. So that's something that we're working through on, like how can the platform help guide people through this in a better way. That'll probably come in like the next iterations. But otherwise, I think that like the main feedback we're getting is that this is a lot of stuff here that I had no idea about, that I wish I knew. And obviously that with the people that we're taking through to this like prepare and raise, the ultimate value is that they then get like a facility that they can use that.
Makes a ton of sense. How do you guys overcome that initial awareness challenge? Like, I mean, most people wouldn't be aware that credit even would be an option for them.
Yeah, so we do a lot of, I guess, like we do a lot of like channel marketing type of thing, like in that sense that like our main acquisition channels is basically venture capital funds that have hard tech companies in their portfolio. So we do things like joint like webinars, and we do our own webinars out there to like them. And we have a free assessment tool that just it's basically a form that you fill in, and then we give you a sense of how ready you are for this type of financing, and then you can book a call with one of our experts on the back of that. And but we're using all of the information that we're getting from the webinars and from questions that we're getting and the customers that we're taking on board to build a little bit of a bank of content that we are going to put together as like a bit of like an academy type way, where we'll be able to get resources either probably on our website, where you can go into like specific topics or get an overview of this type of financing or different types of financing, so that we basically want to help like educate people, because it also helps us like it helps us a lot if people are like coming prepared to the platform, as you can imagine, with the addition of adding your data. And if they have a like better idea of what is expected from them, then their experience with the platform is going to be much better as well.
Makes a ton of sense. Have you ever courted lenders? I mean, I imagine this would be a tool that'd be advantageous from the banking side as well.
We have talked to a lot of lenders, and they do inputs into our platform, and we have a few smaller partnership lenders that basically use our technology. Is there only a technology, if that makes sense? A bit
Sure.
of like an infrastructure play.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of features in let's call it our next bucket that we are working on that will be very advantageous for lenders, but we need to work through a few more case studies in order for those to be like really valuable. But yes, there is a big lender play here as well.
Sure. Are there any industries that this like wouldn't work in? Well, I mean, like from like hard asset lending, like I think would this work in like potentially like Bitcoin mining? I imagine it'd be challenging.
To be completely honest with you, I don't know. Like, I think that we're so focused on this particular type of hard tech companies that we want to solve for, where there is a need for financing the scale of the hard tech company. I haven't looked into Bitcoin mining myself, so I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Gotcha. So just laser focused on the strike zone for now. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
I guess like what is the next like 12 to 24 months look like for you and your team?
So we just finalized the seed round. So we are full steam ahead on basically onboarding as many customers as we can help, and building out these case studies. That's probably live within the first 3 to 6 months now, and then it's building on top of that. It's building like closer to our vision of being the home for where hard tech companies raise financing and build onto their capital stack, and that will probably take multiple forms along the way. And also, as I mentioned, there is a lender play and a data play for lenders that we're working through as well, that we're really excited about. And yeah, like I think that if we're looking at the metric over the next 12 to 24 months, that we want to be seen as the people that you go to, the same as you go to Carta for your infrastructure for your fund. Tangible is where you go if you have any hard assets and you're thinking about raising financing.
That makes a ton of sense. Do you have any, I mean, if you look at regions, I imagine Europe being obviously very compelling, just neighboring, but then also, I mean, you have preferences on either the US or like maybe even the Middle East with some of those capital projects going on?
So we're being a bit opportunistic, to be completely honest with you. We are looking at opportunities in Asia, and we have a few customers in the US already, and we're seeing that as a big market for us. So we are exploring that as well as like a more, like say, the platform and the platform in itself doesn't necessarily have any like regional boundaries. It's more like where our network has been sort of like UK, Europe for now, and then growing in the US and dipping our toes into Asia.
That makes a ton of sense. I mean, currently, like, is there like a compelling way to interact with folks? Like, I imagine conferences could be an avenue. Have you tried other, I mean, you mentioned webinars. What's
Yeah.
been one of the most compelling that you guys have seen?
I think the webinars are useful. I think that we've been to a few conferences as well, and I think that we will go to more sort of like I guess like asset-backed financing stuff, and also like more conferences that are specifically focused on asset classes. We're also doing quite a lot of. We're also looking at co-hosting events, etc. So we have a few customers in robotics. So we're looking at doing something in robotics soon. That will probably be in Europe somewhere. But yeah, no, there's loads of partnerships and etc. that we're also like exploring of like a lot of people are feeling the need for this problem to be solved, not just like our direct customers or lenders. But yes, we're exploring that.
Well, I want to highlight and happy to share more, but there's two over this next year that I think might be advantageous for you guys. The
Cool.
New York Tech Week and the LA Tech Week. I think we'll have
Oh yeah.
there'll be some overlapping events that are like perfectly qualified rooms for you guys.
Nice. Yeah. My co-founder went to the New York Climate Week this year and thought it was really useful.
So I think the expansion, particularly in the US, I think is exciting just based on kind of current capital market interest with this asset type, seemingly pretty strong and pretty robust in terms of like if you're at any sort of scale, it's a pretty stable pitch. So from that standpoint, I think you guys have a lot of opportunity. So it's probably, I guess, walk us through the day in the life. I mean, I imagine you guys have a ton of stuff going on. Just from a fellow founder perspective, we'd love to hear what that's like.
Yeah, so like so I'm focused on the product and technology side, so that's where I spend most of my day. It's like every day, just like thinking about like how the platform can improve the lives for our customers is essentially what we're looking at, as well as sort of like looking at the future play, like what modes can we build ourselves on the platform. And then there's always like right now we're onboarding quite a lot of customers and exploring a lot of partnerships. And yeah, like we're looking at a potential rebrand. We're looking at like think we're potentially launching a podcast. So, there is a lot of things in the fire at the same time. But my main focus is making sure we're building a really good product for our customers.
Makes a lot of sense and a lot of juggling, but good to keep the product in
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess in one clarifying question, is there a minimum like size or like a benchmark that you have to hit before you want to consider tangible, or is it kind of from day one? What's the kind of the sweet spot of?
So on prepare, you can enter prepare in any stage, and we will give you a sense of like the platform will be useful however early you are in your journey, as long as you're aware that you're early, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But we will be able to provide you a way to get in front of lenders through prepare, regardless of stage. Sweet spot, I would say, is probably Series A hard tech companies. Like that's probably like if you're a Series A hard tech company, you've raised some equity, you're looking for your first debt financing. That will probably be the smoothest journey, being completely honest. Those are probably the bulk of our customers, but you can definitely get use of the platform even if you're in earlier stages.
Sure. That's helpful. Well, what's the best way that people can get in touch with you or just learn more about the platform and what Tangible has to offer?
So I think that if you're a hard tech company and you're thinking about this type of financing, the best way to get in front of us is to do our mini assessment, which you can find on our website, and I can provide you with a link as well that you can share around. And that's the one that I mentioned. It's just a free tool to just enter in some of your detail, and then you will be an option to book a call with one of our experts. That I think if you're a hard tech company and you're thinking about this type of financing, is definitely the best way to get in touch with us.
Awesome. Well, in terms of just what you overviewed for just a pretty overlooked and also very compelling space from a financing perspective, I think that you guys are in a sweet spot. But beyond
Cool.
that, I think
Thank you.
well, there's a ton of angles and leads out there. So and not a lot of people have the insight that you guys have within such a tight package of just diligence, really, where you'd want to have like a small boutique investment bank and then maybe an M&A lawyer, and it's, a $600,000 to $700,000 endeavor over 6 months. This is obviously better. Having played that out,
Yeah.
lived it from the lending side and the financing side, this would be a
Mm.
dream I think, for both parties involved. So it's evident.
Well, yeah. That's the idea, is that even for lenders, that we are helping them as well, right, to make decisions, like so that because they are also getting overloaded with content now, right? In terms of like they're getting so many potential deals like landing on their desks, and what we want to do is making their lives easier as well, and being like, oh, here is an opportunity from Tangible. I know exactly what to expect from that. They have already prepared. It's already materials prepared. It's easy for me to dig into the data. I can ask questions about the data very simply. I can get all the information out. I don't need to use a lot of time on my analyst just to clean up someone's data. It's already packaged the way that I need it to be to make an initial decision, or at least leave some feedback. And then, like you said, it saves time and energy for everyone. So building that trust with the lending community is obviously also part of the next sort of 3 to 6 months, is sort of what are you expecting to see? How can we be helpful for you? What does your normal process look like, so that we can, basically help them making decisions quicker.
Well, and I imagine with that value from both sides of the table, you're going to have a true growing community of both lenders and lendees that are looking for that qualified relationship that Tangible sits in the middle of.
Yeah, that's
Well, let us know if we can ever help you guys out, but it sounds like you guys are well on a very nice trajectory. So this is exciting to hear more about.
This is very helpful. So that's it's nice. Always nice to coming and talking about what we're building to people who are interested in the intangible. So that's already helpful.
Well, happy to help get the story out. So thank you for your time today with this, Seb. This has been great.
Thank you, sir. Thank you too, Steven.